These are the top 6 things I stopped spending money on to help me make more money. And be sure to stick around to the last one because that one has definitely helped me make hundreds, honestly, thousands of dollars more. Number 1, brand name clothes with flashy logos. Growing up, I remember I would always be begging my parents every single school year to buy me new clothes. Part of the reason was that I actually got made fun of for not having a lot of clothes and wearing the same clothes. So there's that. But then also I thought, hey, I'd be cool if I had all the flashy logos. Now, embarrassingly, those flashy logos were things like Sean John, Rockaware, Fat Farm. Yeah, not really my vibe, as you can tell, but back then, that's what I aspired to. Rolling that from middle school to high school, even college, I wanted logos, albeit not those type of logos, because I thought that signaled something, some sort of social status. Well, what I quickly realized was, no, my brand name clothes or anyone's brand name clothes doesn't signal any sort of social status. In fact, as I started working, I realized it was more decision fatigue, trying to think about what to match with what. And really, at the end of the day, at my core, I'm not a logo brand name type of guy. And I'll also be the very first to admit, naturally, I'm also not a big fashion person. Really, at the end of the day, what I'm most comfortable with is wearing very similar outfits, very plain Jane stuff. And so what I do now is this. $4.99 from Primark, or buying 1 or 2 really quality items without any of those flashy signs and wearing them until they pretty much fall apart and then rinse and repeat. And by not worrying about what's the latest trend, what's the latest fashion, what's the flashy brand name logo has helped not only save me a considerable amount of time, but money as well. I don't get attracted to these clearance sales, discount sales, Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday. No, I don't really care. I just buy what I always like wearing, wear it for as long as I can, and then go back and rinse and repeat. Number 2, flights. I've been traveling since 2015. Since then, I visited every single continent with the exception of Antarctica. One of the biggest mistakes and money waste that I did in my early years traveling was paying cash for flights. And no, you're probably thinking, how else are you gonna buy flights? Well, I quickly learned that these things are your friend. And no, I'm not talking about credit card debt, but the points and miles that you can earn from your credit cards. And specifically, you can take the points and miles you earn from credit cards and redeem them for flights at a significant discount. Again, all by leveraging the money that you are already going to spend, getting a sign-up bonus, and making the redemption. For example, my fiance and I were doing long distance between Boston and Sydney, and we saw each other 3 to 4 times a year. But just an economy class round trip ticket to anywhere we were going was $1,000 a pop, which is insane. However, by figuring out the points and miles game, I was able to bring that cost down dramatically, only paying $50, $100, $200 out of pocket and then points. In just a random example, the no annual fee Bilt MasterCard. If you pay rent, you earn points for paying rent with this card. You can then take the points that you've earned from paying rent, which is something you already do, transfer it to, say, Air France, and 50,000 points would get you one way from North America over to Paris and about $200 in taxes and fees, instead of paying $4,000 for that business class flight. 3. Electronics. For the longest time, and even today, I would religiously follow the release of new gadgets and widgets. Laptops, phones, watches, gaming consoles, you name it, I was just attuned. And in the past, I would always try to get the latest and greatest. But the realization I've had along the way is, I never actually use the technology the way that it's showcased. You see Apple, they launch a MacBook and it's got a 20 gazillion cores and it's 20% faster and all this stuff. But me as the everyday user, internet, mail, maybe a little bit of editing. And so it's the realization that it's awesome to see that every year that technology gets better, but me as the end consumer, I do not need that at all every single year. In fact, for the first 2 years of running my social media page at John's Finance Tips, where I went from pretty much 0 to over 2 million followers, I was using a 4-year-old iPhone and it got the job done. So what I do today to scratch that curiosity itch of the latest and greatest tech is I still do follow the news cycles. I still keep up to date on it, but I actively make sure that I'm not going and buying those things unless I've maxed out the specs on what I have currently. For example, my old MacBook Pro, I had that thing for 6 years and it was on its dying breath before I finally upgraded to the recent M2 chip. I'm probably gonna have this MacBook for another 6 to 8 years before I even consider making any changes. Number 4, sales. For the longest time, whenever I saw any announcement of a clearance sale, or I walk into a store and there's a buy one, get one, my first thought was, awesome, I'm getting something. I am spending money because I'm saving. But the realization I had was, wait a minute, if I am spending to save, but spending money I wasn't planning to spend, I'm not saving, I'm just spending. And the silliest part about this spending money, I was looking for an excuse to justify it, which is just completely irrational. Imagine having a $100 shoe that you weren't gonna look at anyway, but suddenly it's on sale for $50 and it's just, you have to have it. If you didn't need it or want it, saving $50 is not saving $50. You're just spending $50. And today, what I actively do whenever I see a sale or a discount is really think to myself, is this something I was already previously considering buying? If not, it's not even worth my time and attention, because that's the easiest way for retailers to sucker you in to parting from your money. Number 5, buying in bulk. Growing up, going to Costco with my mom was always a treat. She'd always buy a ton of stuff, and at the end, it'd be the snack section. I always get to pick something. And it was awesome because you knew whatever snack that you bought in bulk was an absolute ripper of the deal. And so I continued that habit once I moved out on my own. But the problem is, Viv and I are a family of, well, 2.5. I guess we have 2 little corgis, but they don't really consume anything from Costco. Contrast that to growing up, it was a family of 4. So as we're buying things in bulk, sure, you can store it and save it for later and know that you got a good deal, but the issue I was running into was especially a lot of the perishable items, they weren't being consumed fast enough because it was just 2 people. And so similar to the sale example, even though we were saving money by buying in bulk, because a lot of items we weren't able to finish in time, it was wasted money. And so there is no net savings if you can't actually consume all of the bulk items in time. And so what we do now is, especially for perishable items, we go to local grocery stores, and even though the unit price might be higher, we're more likely to finish it and use all of it than if we bought in bulk from Costco. Now, we still go to Costco to buy in bulk for things like toilet paper and paper towels, but for other things, we are definitely more aware of our ability to consume. And number 6, the thing I stopped spending money on that has helped me make the most amount of money, complicated investments. And when I say complicated investments, I'm talking about things like day trading, whole life insurance as an investment, options, and even just picking individual stocks. In fact, one of my worst losses was purchasing GoPro at the IPO. Back then I thought, action cameras, I have one, everyone has one, it's an IPO, it's surely gonna go up. Fast forward a couple months from that initial buy, I was down $4,000. But the realization that I've since come to is that the entire financial/investment market is designed to take your money. The next hot pick from Jim Cramer on CNBC isn't really there to benefit you. It's there to benefit that hot pick. When it comes to picking mutual funds that are loaded with massive fees, 3%, 4%, 5% fees, that's not to benefit you, it's to benefit the fund manager. And when it comes to things like day trading, it's the people selling you the courses on day trading making money. When it comes to buying whole life insurance so that you can invest it in an infinity bank and be your own bank, it's the guy selling you the insurance policy. The thing is, with investing, it is dumb simple. The issue is, because it's dumb simple, people want to come in and overcomplicate it. They want to come in and overpromise and underdeliver. Because at the end of the day, what do you think sells better? Telling someone that they should buy low-cost index funds, sit on their hands, and be a millionaire in 20 or 30 years, or do I come in with the razzle dazzle, you can be a millionaire tomorrow if you buy my course? Even Warren Buffett has famously said when he goes 6 feet under, the majority of the money that he's passing on to his heirs and his widow should be put into an index fund. And to really drive home the point, the majority of the professional money managers on Wall Street fail to beat their market index year over year. So if the professionals who are literally paid millions of dollars can't reliably beat the market, what business do you or I have doing it? The answer is we don't have any. We just have to accept that as long as we're in the middle, we are gonna end up millionaires. We have to stay around long enough to do that without blowing up our positions. And so here's my recommendation to avoid complicated investments. Accept the fact that you're just gonna do average. And if you do average, you'll end up wealthy. And here are 2 books I recommend. One is called A Random Walk Down Wall Street, and the other is called The Psychology of Money. If you can read those 2 books, like you know how to read and you can understand those 2 books with reading comprehension, you're gonna end up wealthy. Avoid the razzle dazzle. However, if you're sitting there and you're wealthy, you make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, first of all, welcome to the channel. But if you've got a scratch itch, go for it. Go make your $1,000 bet, $5,000 bet, $10,000 bet. But for money that you actually need in your life for retirement, for living, do not gamble with it. Low cost, broad-based market index funds. Just to give you an example, in 2023, if you just bought the S&P 500 and sat on your hands and did nothing, you would have got a 20% return. That's insane. And that's the video. These are the top 6 things that I stopped spending money on to make more money. Comments, questions down below if there's any that I might have missed, or if there are things that you stopped spending money on that now help you make more money.